Summer is supposed to be pool floats and bad decisions. Morgan gets one of those right. She's 17, responsible by default, dating Chris, the golden boy whose personality is 60% charm and 40% party playlist. Her younger sister, Jenny, is with Jonah, a quiet, steady type who reads warning labels for fun. Cue the awkward twist. Morgan and Jonah keep having those too long eye contacts. Nothing scandalous, just the kind of careful, polite chemistry that pretends it's minding its own business. Then there is a bonfire. Chris and Jenny are doing cannonballs into chaos, laughing too loud, while Morgan and Jonah stand off to the side like they're co-parenting the vibes. He teases her about her mom's stare. She fires back that someone has to keep the house from burning down. They both smile a little too much at nothing in particular. So, Morgan's been counting days, and now the math refuses to lie. Pregnancy test says, surprise. Her face cycles through shock, denial, then, oh no, this is real. She breathes, squares her shoulders, and chooses the path in front of her. Tell Chris, grow up fast, become the reliable axis everyone already treats her like. She and Chris commit to the future, at least the part that includes a baby. 17 years later, Morgan is 34, very good at being an adult, and about to blow out candles like it's a competitive sport. Her daughter Clara is 16, old enough to drive, argue, and collect crushes like limited editions. Clara has her mother's resting "don't test me" face and her father's talent for rules as decor. On the way home from school, she gives Miller a ride, the quiet kid with messy hair and a camera that looks like it survived 3 wars and a garage sale. His neighborhood is more DIY ambition than HOA newsletter, and somehow that makes him more interesting. He talks about film school like it's a destination and not a fantasy. She doesn't swoon, obviously. She just mentally bookmarks his smile for later research. Back at home, it's Morgan's birthday, balloons, cake, and the family's annual vision board ritual, which is essentially goal setting with scissors. Jenny arrives, all nurse on a double shift cheerful. Jonah shows up steady and calm with baby Elijah in tow. It's fine. It's normal. It's also a very delicate Jenga tower of emotions. Then Miller comes up in conversation. Chris does the dad thing. He forbids, frowns, and generally declares Miller an extracurricular hazard. Clara, being 16 and not a houseplant, bristles. Morgan attempts diplomacy, which works exactly as well as trying to iron a balloon. The table splits into factions. Team let her breathe versus team not that much air. Ready for bed. But tomorrow, the phone will ring, and this entire family will fall through the floor. So the morning starts like any other. Coffee, keys, minor eye rolls. Then the phone rings, and normal snaps like a twig. Morgan hears the words, but they don't arrange themselves into sense. There's been an accident, 2 victims, names she knows like her own name. She grabs her bag with hands that won't stop shaking. Jonah arrives fast, because of course he does, and the drive is a blur of red lights that feel personal. At the hospital, time behaves like bad Wi-Fi, freezing, buffering, refusing to load what you need. The facts land in short, brutal sentences. Chris is gone, Jenny is gone. They were in the same car. That detail lodges like a fishbone. Morgan swallows it down because shock is already doing enough. Jonah looks like someone pulled the floor out from under his ribs. Clara arrives with questions stacked behind her eyes. Why were they together? Were they in a hurry? Did I do something? Morgan wants to hand her a world where none of this happened. Instead, she gives her the smallest, safest version she can think of. Flat tire, wrong place, wrong time. It's a story with rounded corners. Clara clings to it like a life ring. Grief takes over the house in practical ways. Calls to make, clothes to pick for funerals, casseroles multiplying like tribbles. Every object becomes a memory landmine. At night, silence gets loud. Jonah texts logistics, service details, paperwork, but the space between their messages is full of what they're not asking. Morgan keeps circling back to the same impossible point. If there was no flat tire, why were Chris and Jenny in the same car? Clara stares at her phone like it owes her answers. She replays every text she ever sent, every moment she didn't say what she felt. building a private courtroom where she's both judge and defendant. Grief is messy, but this is organized. Morgan notices a charge on Chris's account that doesn't belong in a tragedy. A mid-range hotel with mid-range secrets. She flags it, then pretends she didn't. Pretending lasts about 12 seconds. Jonah, working on 2 hours of sleep in sheer decency, follows the breadcrumb anyway. In the hotel lot, Chris's car sits there like a confession with headlights. The timeline starts rearranging itself. Why here? Why together? Why lie? Back at Jenny's place, Morgan sifts through the practical aftermath. Documents, keepsakes, the small museum of a life. In a drawer she wasn't planning to open, she finds lingerie that does not play well with innocent explanations. Bright, new, and exactly not for a solo act. Her breath goes shallow. The room tilts. The kindest narratives die first. Jenny, her sister, Chris, her husband. They were busy writing a story behind her back, and it came with hotel parking validation. Jonah arrives, sees the lingerie, and doesn't need the commentary. His face does the math no one wants to show their work on. Elijah stirs in his carrier, impossibly sweet, a chubby fist to the heart. And now there's a new, uglier question. Whose son is he? Neither of them says it out loud because saying it is a kind of betrayal too. They make a pact without calling it one. Keep the hotel and the lingerie away from Clara for now. One crisis at a time. One truth at a time. Morgan tucks the evidence away like it might stop being evidence if the drawer stays shut. Clara copes the way many honor students do, by not coping and calling it productivity. Step 1. DM Miller like it's a part-time job. They trade midnight clips and chaotic memes. They brainstorm for the school film competition. She says she can act. He says he can't afford an actress with eyebrows that judgmental. Chemistry arrives wearing a fake mustache like, who? Me? Afternoon at his place. They're reviewing footage when the conversation trips and face plants into silence. Miller looks at her the way people look at fireworks they weren't expecting. Clara's brain recommends deflection. Her heart clicks, accept. The kiss is cautious, then confident, then, okay, wow. She files it under science project, turns out Oxygen was a boy. She tells no one. How do you announce family tragedy now featuring a crush? Morgan is running a grief and casserole command center. Clara is not about to introduce a subplot. At home, the delete button becomes her best friend. Chris's past rules hover like a screensaver. Do not date Miller. Nothing makes a secret feel necessary, like a parental decree from beyond the grave. Guilt hums along until Morgan asks how she's doing, and then the volume cranks to, oh, look, a fire alarm. Clara replies with Olympic-level vagueness. Walking her to the car, Miller admits he's liked her for a while, which is boy code for since the invention of time. Clara nods like that's casual information, and then immediately schedules a 2 a.m. overthinking session. While Clara edits a maybe love story, Morgan is about to unscrew a kitchen door and accidentally loosen a few emotional bolts with it. The kitchen door has 2 settings, sticks like it's unionized or swings like a saloon in a bar fight. On day 3 of Grief Meets Bureaucracy, it chooses performative stubbornness. Morgan chooses a screwdriver. She fights the hinges like they owe her money. Jonah shows up to return paperwork and ends up holding the door steady, which is a pretty good metaphor for his entire personality. They wrestle it off together, breathless, triumphant, a little ridiculous. The quiet afterward feels earned, like they punched chaos in the face and won a minor medal. On a shelf lurks the painting. Jenny gifted it, Chris loved it, Morgan tolerated it the way people tolerate theme park lines. Today, it looks like a souvenir from a life that lied to her. She lifts it down. Jonah reads her face and doesn't say, "Are you sure?" which is exactly why she keeps standing near him. The first crack is an accident. The second is community service. By the third, they're both laughing. The ugly, cathartic kind that makes your ribs file complaints. Elijah babbles from his carrier, offering baby commentary like, "Yes, destroy symbolic objects, adults, good job." Morgan wipes a tear she blames on dust. Jonah watches her with that careful, steady gaze that remembers the girl from 17 summers ago and sees the woman who survived all the seasons since. They're close, too close. No music swells, no destiny monologue, just two people orbiting the same grief, inches apart. Jonah's hand slides to hers, warm, calloused, familiar. The kiss happens because not kissing would require supernatural strength neither of them currently has. It's brief and terrifying and exactly what it is. A misplaced moment that feels right. Air returns like it had left the room out of politeness. They separate, both instantly aware of a line crossed and a cliff approached. Morgan's brain does an emergency reboot. Jonah stares at the ruined painting like it can offer legal counsel. They agree, wordlessly, desperately, to step back, to be sensible, to table whatever that was until the universe stops spinning. Timing is an Olympic sport, and Clara is the undefeated champion of walking in at the worst possible second. She turns the corner and finds Morgan and Jonah mid-kiss. No soft lighting, no excuses, just two adults doing an emotional faceplant. Her eyebrows file for emancipation. Morgan stammers, "This isn't," which is technically true because it isn't what Clara thinks it is. But also, yeah, it's exactly something. Clara's silence is sharp enough to slice bread. She spins out, storing this moment in the vault labeled Evidence for Future Fury. A few hours later, it's showtime. Clara's 17th birthday dinner, which should be cake and compliments, but quickly becomes a hostage situation for etiquette. She accidentally invites Jonah and Miller, because if the vibe is going to be tense, we might as well go for orchestral. The table is a minefield. Morgan tries small talk. Clara volleys with passive-aggressive poetry. Miller does polite confusion. Jonah stares at the table like it has also answers. The waiter learns 12 new definitions of awkward. Eventually, the night tips. Clara pushes too hard. Morgan pushes back. Chris's ghostly rules hover, and everything snaps. Clara storms out with Lexi in a cloud of perfume and righteous teenage thunder. Back home later, Clara drags Miller to her room with "bad idea" stamped on every step. It's not about romance, it's about revenge, which is a terrible reason for anything except movie plots and maybe eyeliner. They kiss, it skids toward more, and Miller, bless this boy, hits the brakes. He can tell she's not present. He refuses to be a weapon. Clara's pride takes the hit. Her heart, annoyingly, is relieved. Across town, with the birthday fiasco still ringing in their ears, Morgan and Jonah stop pretending. Grief, history, that kiss, they all add up to a decision made in the quiet after a storm. They sleep together. It isn't cinematic, it's human. When it's over, reality returns, wearing boots. They both know the timing is a mess and the consequences have teeth. Morning arrives, the house looks like hell. Morgan decides to salvage one thing she can control. The vision boards. It's their tradition. And tradition is just that emotional thing that they need right now. They spread out magazines and glue sticks like peace offerings. Clara cuts out road trips and film reels with the precision of someone quietly on fire. Morgan picks phrases like "be honest" and "ah yes," irony. The silence gets heavy. Finally, Clara says what she's been saying with her eyebrows for days. "Just tell me." So Morgan does. No soft focus, no euphemisms. Chris and Jenny were having an affair. The car, the hotel, the lies. They weren't accidents in the narrative. They were the narrative. Clara blinks hard, fighting that betrayed, sad, angry cocktail teenagers get when the adults reveal they're human. Then Morgan tackles the other monster, guilt. Clara's been carrying the idea that a text, a moment, anything might have caused all this. Morgan shuts that door and locks it. "It wasn't you," she says, and means all the things a mother can mean in 4 words. Morgan, doing what good moms do after telling the worst truth, looks for the next right action. "Let's go," she says. They pull up to Miller's place. Morgan stays in the car like a wise chaperone, present but invisible. Clara walks to the door with the posture of someone choosing her next chapter on purpose. Miller answers with that almost smile and a relieved "hey," and for once, nothing explodes. Back home, the board's dry. The glue holds. Maybe they will too. Morgan shreds Jenny's unopened letters, not from spite, but mercy. The past stops running things. Clara watches, then does her own brave thing. She gives Morgan and Jonah the green light. Months later, her and Miller's film fills the school auditorium. He sneaks in a montage of her laughing alive and asks her to prom. She says yes. After, his grandfather drops a bomb in the nicest way: a future inheritance, $250,000, and a push toward film school. New doors wait, already open.